All right, First Corinthians 7. Um, this is a bit awkward, some of these things to talk about, but we're going to just plow through it here. Um, I'll say here he's probably talking about prostitution. The reason for that is Corinth is a port city. There's a lot of sailors coming through that have been on the sea for a bit and whatnot. So it's where all the prostitutes like to hang out because they're making their good money off their sailors. Um, and then Paul gives a bunch of advice about marriage. A lot of this, I will say right off the hand, you can read it if you want. A lot of it is not commands. Where does Paul say here? Not as a commandment. Paul does this a lot. Sometimes he's just giving advice. They're new. A lot of these churches are new. The faith is new, and people are not sure what they should be doing. Sometimes they're just like, "What's the best course of action here?" Um, Paul does encourage people to be single if they can handle it, basically. But he's talking about self control, and a lot of people have no self control in this area. We know that very well in the modern times because everything's on video and Facebook and Twitter and etc. Um, it's better to marry than burn with passion and go to prostitutes and stuff like that. Now, I did bring up earlier that if a couple is young and they have no self control and they end up having sex, Paul said he did not sin, let them marry. Um, he does not advocate for just sleeping with everyone and anyone and everyone. Just to be clear, I'll just leave it at that. A lot of this is just advice. I'm trying to think of what I want to go into a little more. This is kind of interesting. If you're a believer and your partner is not a believer, then and they don't want to leave you, then the man sanctifies the woman or the woman sanctifies the man, like vice versa. It works both ways, and your children are sanctified just by the one person believing. It saves the entire household. And there is, I'll quickly there's other spots. There's one in the Old Testament too, but the wording must be slightly different. But there's other examples of this where, or just for someone's sake, like so let's take David. I think it might have been one of them is David, where just for David's sake, God will just bless someone else. Like, there's a loyalty there, and like, yeah, it's pretty interesting. Mm, I will touch on what some people will take out of context to say the Bible is pro-slavery, which it's not. Clearly, this is not a pro-slavery. That's it. Everything has to be in context. If you were made free, if you can be made free, use it. You are bought at a price. Do not become slaves of men. Of men. Um, you can take some things out of context, but I would say that sometimes, like, okay, if you look at the end of this sentence, if you can be made free, use it. If you can't be made free, you're probably better off, unless you, like, you can, who knows what happens if you try to escape and get caught. So, if you can escape, use it, or if you can be set free by your master, use it. But if you still are and you can't get out, don't be concerned about it because that doesn't help anything. Don't worrying doesn't help. God will find ways to bless you. God will find a way to free you eventually. Jesus said he came to set the captives free. It's not a pro-slavery book. Not all, but most of the um, abolitionists, I think they're called, the people that fought against the Confederacy in the Civil War, most of them are Christians. It's not or at least pro-Bible. It's not a pro-slavery book. People can take the things out of context and make them say crazy things, but anywho. Now again, this is a lot of not commands but advice, saying basically, if you're married, stay married. Don't seek to be loosed. If you aren't married, you shouldn't be worried about getting married. I will say that I've had this. I've had times where I kind of seeked it, and times I definitely am not right now. But it's good advice to not seek it. If you meet someone that you really like, and at least I think it is, if you meet someone you really like, and everything seems to be working out, that's great. But I'll say for me, life is better, and trying to look for something that's not there is not great. That's just my opinion. A lot of this is opinion and advice. It's not commandments. Excuse me. Now, Paul does talk about. I think we went over this already. Basically, see, Paul's not telling people what to do. He's just saying it might be better for you. Okay, it's just advice. Let's just leave it at that. Just there is one part where there's a command right here, and it's basically around adultery. I'm just gonna leave it. It's bad for entire families, and it's lifelong devastation too. Sometimes to people when you're married and someone leaves. I'm just gonna leave it, I guess. Thanks for listening.